Chapter 1. Seattle was like every city. It had those cool areas where people wanted to live. In 1988, it was Capitol Hill, Belltown, or Lower Queen Anne. Anywhere close enough to stagger home from downtown when the music ended and the bars closed. But West Seattle definitely wasn't cool. It was a kind of place where people went when they couldn't afford anything better. I was sitting out on the deck drinking coffee, reading the newspaper, and enjoying the morning sun, a rare surprise in May. Down below, Lake Union was sparkling in the light, and the towers of the downtown skyline glittered in the distance. The building I lived in had been put up quickly for the World's Fair back in 1962, and it looked like a cheap California motel, ugly pebble stucco and concrete. But the apartments were spacious and clean, and it was affordable. It was just up the street from Tower Records, close enough to walk downtown. If I craned hard over the balcony, I could even see the tip of the Space Needle. It was a small item on page 3. I'd have missed it if it wasn't for the name. "Come and take a look at this," I called to Steve. "What is it?" he asked as he came out fresh from the shower and running a hand through his wet hair. He grabbed my coffee and took a sip. "Hey," I said and took the cup back. "Have you seen this? Craig Adler's dead." "What? Are you serious, Laura?" His voice rose in astonishment. "Here." I pushed the newspaper at him. He scanned the brief article, eyes widening. "Jesus." He looked at me in amazement. "Heroin? That's what it says. Seems weird to me, but yeah, me too." He settled in the other chair and read it through again, puzzlement on his face. "And West Seattle." He shook his head. "That's strange. I figured he had a place on the hill. I know he used to. I guess he moved. You know what's really bizarre? I heard his band was about to sign with a major." That had been the rumor. Snakeblood had a deal with ARP Records and big money was involved. Why would someone overdose on the verge of that? He frowned, trying to hide a small pang of musician's jealousy. Steve had his own band, Gideon's Wound, that was desperately trying to make it. A local label had put out a single of theirs in January, 2 songs, both under 3 minutes long. They'd had good reviews all over, even one in Melody Maker in England. But apart from a couple more gigs and brief trips to Portland and Boise, nothing had really happened. No record companies were calling him with a contract offer. He was still washing dishes. The groundswell that was rising in Seattle music was passing him by, and I knew he resented it, even though he didn't say anything. For the last few years, there had been an underground scene, raucous, unruly groups playing the little clubs that sprang up every few months around the city, and now it was beginning to come of age. Record label scouts were sniffing around, hunting the next big thing and sensing it would be here. Craig had been the first choice, except now he was dead. "Had you heard anything about him doing heroin?" he asked. I shook my head. It wasn't the drug of choice for most of the musicians I knew. They preferred to drink beer and smoke plenty of weed. But I was just a music journalist. How much did I understand anyway? "Nothing." Steve glanced at his watch and stood up. "I got a jet," he said. And a few seconds later I heard the apartment door close loudly and smiled. One thing about Steve, he was like most men I'd known, unable to do anything quietly. Looking down, I could see him heading for the bus stop, joining the pack of humanity heading downtown, wearing a faded denim jacket on top of a plaid shirt and t-shirt, old battered jeans, and Doc Martens. Good thrift shop Seattle wear. He'd change into his whites in the restaurant at the Bon Marché, where he worked piling up the dirty plates and cups in the dishwasher, then emptying it again, time after time, in the steamy heat. It was fair money, not the worst job he'd ever had, but it wasn't music, and I knew that rankled with him every single day. Steve had moved in with me 6 months before when the lease on his old place was up. By then we'd been dating almost a year. He was 24, 7 years younger than me, but most of the time there didn't seem to be an age difference between us. From the moment we met, standing at the bar in the Central, both trying to order beers over the music, we just clicked. It startled people. I noticed the looks people gave us when we were out and